Have you ever felt like you're just stuck? Solving the same exact problem over and over and over again? It's incredibly frustrating. Well, today we're going to talk about how to break that cycle for good. We're going to look at the huge difference between the problems we think we have and the real ones that are hiding just beneath the surface. Let's dive in. Okay, so you're in a meeting and someone says this: "Our customers are not satisfied." We've all heard it. It sounds super important, it sounds urgent, and it seems pretty clear, right? This is what we call a stated problem. It's the thing everyone can see and point to. But what if I told you that focusing on this obvious problem is actually a trap? That it's the very thing stopping you from finding a real solution? And that's the big question, isn't it? Is that the real problem? The second you start asking that, everything changes. You stop being just a problem solver and you start becoming an innovator. You see, real breakthroughs, the big ones, they don't come from just patching up the cracks. They come from digging deep and finding out why the foundation is shaky in the first place. The best way to think about it is this. A stated problem is like a symptom. A fever isn't the actual illness, right? It's just your body's way of telling you something's wrong. If your doctor only gave you medicine for the fever, you'd never actually get better. Well, it's the exact same thing with the challenges we face at work. If you only focus on the surface level stuff, you're doomed to repeat it. Do any of these ring a bell? We have too many delays. Oh yeah, this project just isn't working. Heard that one a million times. Sales are down this quarter. These are the headlines, the big, flashy problems that get all the attention. But here's the thing. They tell you almost nothing about what's actually going on. They're the effect, not the cause. So, this is where the real work begins. Our job is to become investigators, to explore that hidden world beneath the surface. This is where the real answers are hiding. It's also where the real opportunities for game-changing innovation live. Yeah, it's going to be a little more complex, maybe a little messy, but trust me, it's where all the good stuff is. The amazing design firm IDEO has a perfect model for this. They talk about two levels of knowledge. On the surface, you've got explicit knowledge. That's the obvious stuff. What people say, what they do, it's the what. But way down deep, there's tacit knowledge. This is the stuff people can't always articulate. What they truly feel, what they believe, what they secretly want. That's the why. And the real problem? It almost always lives in that deep, tacit layer. So let's just break it down nice and simple. The stated problem, that's the symptom. It's on the surface, it's easy to see, it's what everyone is talking about. But the real problem? That's the root cause. It's hiding, it's quiet, and it's way more complex. Our whole mission is to shift our focus from just reacting to the symptom to actually getting down there and solving the cause. Okay, so theory is great, but how do we actually do this? How do we put on our detective hats and start uncovering these hidden truths? Well, it's not about just guessing. There are actual tools and a structured way to go about it. Let's get into the toolkit. There's this really powerful approach called CreActionality. It's basically a blend of three crucial things. First, you need creativity, to see connections that no one else does. Then you need rationality, to give your investigation some structure. And finally, you need action, to get out there and test what you think is going on in the real world. It's this perfect cycle of imagining, structuring, and then testing. And maybe the most famous tool for this, made legendary by Toyota, is the 5 whys method. It is so simple, it's brilliant. You just state the problem, and then you ask why 5 times. Seriously. Each answer you get becomes the starting point for the next why, and with each question, you drill down another layer, pushing past all the surface-level noise until you hit the absolute core of the issue. Now, this isn't just some business school theory. Let's see how it works in the real world. We're going to look at 2 legendary innovators, Toyota and Airbnb, and see how this exact kind of thinking led to their biggest breakthroughs. All right, so picture this. You're at a Toyota plant, and a machine just stops working. The stated problem couldn't be more obvious. The machine's broken. The obvious solution? Call a mechanic, fix the machine, and get back to work. Easy, right? Well, that's not what they did. They started asking why. Why did the machine stop? Well, because it overloaded and blew a fuse. Okay, second why. Why did it overload? Turns out a part wasn't getting properly lubricated. Third why. Why wasn't it lubricated? Because the lubrication pump wasn't working. Fourth why. Why wasn't the pump working? Because the intake was clogged with metal shavings. Okay, final why, number 5. Why was the intake clogged? And there it is. The real problem had nothing to do with a broken machine. It was a human systems problem. A filter hadn't been installed on the pump because it wasn't in the maintenance manual. So fixing the machine would have just been a temporary patch. By finding the real systemic problem, they created a permanent solution that prevented it from ever happening again. Genius. Now let's jump over to the early days of Airbnb. Their stated problem was a classic one for a startup: low demand. People just weren't booking the listings they had in New York City. The founders assumed it had to be a technical problem, maybe a bug in their search algorithm or something wrong with the website. So they decided to dig deeper. They did something radical. They flew to New York and they stayed in their own listings. They talked to their hosts, they used their own product from the customer's perspective. And what they discovered had absolutely nothing to do with their code. They had a huge aha moment. The real problem wasn't technical at all. It was emotional. The photos on the listings, they were terrible. They were dark, they were blurry, taken on flip phones. They didn't make you want to stay there. They made you feel kind of uneasy. It was a trust issue. So the founders did something that absolutely does not scale. They rented a nice camera, went door to door, and took professional photos for their hosts themselves. And what happened? Bookings shot through the roof, almost overnight. I mean, how powerful are those stories? But look, this isn't some secret technique reserved for giant corporations. It is a tool that you can and you should use in your own life. So let's try it out right now. I want you to think for a second. What's a problem that keeps popping up for you? A project that's always behind schedule, a goal you just can't seem to hit. Just pick one stated problem. Got it in your head? Okay, good. Now for real, I want you to pause this and actually do this. Grab a piece of paper. At the top, write down your problem. Then, underneath it, ask, why is that happening? And write down your answer. Now, look at that answer and ask why again. Keep going. Do it 5 times. I guarantee you, what you find at the end of that chain will be so much more profound and so much more actionable than the problem you started with. And really, that's what this is all about. The next time you're up against a wall, resist that urge to just jump in and start fixing things. Just pause for a second. Ask yourself, is this the real problem or is this just a symptom? Because what if the biggest challenge you're facing is just a sign of something much deeper, something no one's even put a name to yet? Your next huge breakthrough might be hiding just one why away.